If you ask a master how they got to be that way, they'd probably answer with one word: practice. Now, Mr. Self Improvement, Ben Franklin, took this advice to heart and was known for spending hours a day playing chess with his friends, hoping to get better. Chess.com, in retrospect, describes Franklin as someone who should be remembered more for his passion for chess rather than his skill. How could someone who is so well known for his self improvement end up in the middle of the bell curve when it comes to something they were so passionate about? We know that Franklin's major shortcomings had more to do with how he practiced rather than how much he practiced. In the book Peak by Anders Ericsson and Robert Poole, Ericsson and Poole describe the four types of practice people use. The first is no practice. This is when you don't really do anything that gets you better. For example, let's take the goal people have of running a marathon. For no practice, these are people who only exercise when they're comfortable. These people might not even get to the point of finding a marathon to sign up for. This guy looks happy, but only because ignorance is bliss. For software engineering, an example would be the people that couldn't get past CS 101 because they never realized that all the answers aren't in the lectures, they're in Stack Overflow. Moving on, we have naive practice. And this is once you reach a satisfactory level and automate performance, you stop improving. These are like people that go out for the same run every day expecting to get better at running. People who get to the point where they can run 3 miles, but they never get faster or go farther when they always run at the same distance and pace. These people will not understand where they went wrong on race day. For software engineering, these are people that get a job out of college and assume that I've gotten a job, therefore I have arrived. They learn just enough to get by, and it can be both enlightenment, because you don't feel like you have to prove anything, and purgatory, because you don't feel like you're making any progress. The next level we have is purposeful practice, and this focuses on the idea that action is greater than knowledge acquisition. So, doing projects, tinkering, or using the Feynman technique to get a feedback loop that shows some sort of progress. This type of progress is typically well defined, has specific goals, and you know what you're trying to get out of each session. You want to push past your comfort zone. So, for an example, if you want to be good enough at running a marathon, you might run 5% farther every week. Each session has a goal, and this will eventually lead you to being able to run a marathon. For software engineering, this is someone who works on personal projects or reads books on new topics with an emphasis on trying to improve at a specific thing. Now, the gold standard and final level is deliberate practice. This is really just the directed application of purposeful practice. And this usually requires that a field must be well developed and have objective standards. Now, software engineering lacks those objective standards, but there are ways to measure yourself, and you can always measure yourself to yourself. Don't measure yourself against others. Now, when we say directed, we mean something that's coaching, like mentorship, and that can come from work, it can come from local groups, it can come from online, like this video, or it can be self directed. So, an example for running would be being analyzed and then being coached on your exact weaknesses, like your speed or technique, that limit your ability, but you might not even realize it. This will help you improve at a much shorter period of time, as opposed to purposeful practice. They'll both achieve their goal, but a deliberate practitioner might do it in half the time. For the software engineering example, these are someone who reads books or does personal projects, but they're on topics that a more experienced mentor recommended that they could improve. So, how can you apply it? Well, you can self direct your own progress by thinking of the categories of skills and tools you're working with and figuring out where you're weak. So, I like to think of four main buckets for software engineering skills: they're domain, process, soft, and technical skills. For domain, we're really trying to answer the question: how does my business work? How does my market work? What is the language that my market and industry use? For process, it's what is the process methodology for my team? What are the steps that get an idea to production? For soft skills, these are just people skills, so communication and teamwork. So you're trying to answer questions like, how can I get better at communicating with my team? How can I get better at documenting my system? Or how can I get better at working with a team to get projects done? For technical skills, these are things like, what tools are used where I work? What are the languages? What's the frameworks? What's the libraries? What's the environment that I'm working in? You'll notice that technical is last. This is because we're trying to think about what technologies could be applied to my work. As Pragmatic Programmer says, we want to let need drive our acquisition. So, problems of my domain, process, or soft skills should lead into the applications of new technical tools. So, I'd like to challenge you. I'd like you to ask someone around you that you respect what they think that you could work on and improve. How could you use purposeful practice to improve that skill? Suddenly, you're executing deliberate practice and improving rapidly, and you'll be well on your way to becoming a master. So, unlike Franklin, you'll be well known for your skill and not just your passion.